Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host of Self-Made is a Myth, Making a Difference Together show, where we're talking with successful business owners to hear their stories of the journey to building their business. And because we know that achieving success is not something that we can do on our own, we recognize the folks who have helped us excel. I'm excited to have a fellow business owner with me today. My guest has done work for a famous hot dog eater, Joey Chestnut. Wow. And apparently it's not all exciting when you're behind the scenes watching how much Joey is able to consume and the things that happen as he's consuming. My guest enjoys spending time with his fiance, and he is most proud of being here and having the ability to help others. Please join me in welcoming Jeremy to the show.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate being here. Cheers.
Well, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit of your personal story, where you were born, where you live, a bit about your family, hobbies, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Again, I really appreciate you having me on your show. But so, yeah, to jump right in, I was born and raised in Greenwood, Indiana, so just south of Indianapolis, Indiana. I was very fortunate with my parents. They believed in me. We weren't necessarily the middle class, which is, there's a lot of blessing and a lot of privilege within that. And, I was able to get, good schooling. So I was very, very blessed at a young age. Granted, with all that, again, like every single day, I count my blessings for. It was very tough growing up too. I was, to just jump right in, I was sexually abused at a really young age. And that really, like if you can either personally relate, or if you know of anyone who've experienced that at older ages, middle age, young age, whatever, like that just can really affect people in a lot of different ways. And so by middle school, I was struggling with identity and like trying to fit in, because this thing that had happened to me so many years ago I couldn't talk about and didn't even understand it. And a lot of these ramifications and consequences started happening when I was in eighth grade. I was expelled from a Christian private school. I was smoking cigarettes. I was, at a point in such an early stage where I was like earnestly searching. All of a sudden, I was earnestly searching to fit in, to
Right.
like, what is happiness? Now I'm looking for things like a cigarette to try to make myself feel good, or like get that little buzz so I'm not thinking about these other things. Well, as we know, you start to tap into those things to fill the void in your soul. The void ends up getting deeper. So the people that I would associate with myself at the time, which made me feel like I was important and like I could fit in and all these types of things, they would offer me other stuff. They're like, hey, this would make you feel better, and like do this. Like, so the Monday after a weekend of partying, by this point is my freshman year of high school, the Monday after a weekend of partying, I was feeling even more lost and feeling even more at that point depressed. And all the while, like I've had amazing parents and I can't blame them for anything, but I was just so troubled in my search for like identity and purpose. And long story short, one thing led to the next. By the summer of my freshman year of high school, I tried most drugs that would be offered to me. And like alcohol, sex, just nothing gave me a sense of purpose or relief or satisfaction anymore. Everything just made things worse. And so, long story short, I had an attempt on my life and I survived that, which I'm very grateful for. Spent a couple of days in a hospital. And I reached out to a friend probably about 2 weeks after I kind of physically started recovering from that. And this person was always happy. And, long story short, they had this transcendental connection to purpose. Like they found purpose outside of the material things in this world. And I was so intrigued by that. I was like, okay, I've been trying a lot of these material things. What do you have? And this person was a follower of Jesus Christ. And from my own studies at the time, going to a church camp and all these things, I had found that this guy, Jesus Christ, all he did was serve people and help people. And that was his mission. And because of it, that was his purpose. And that's what he tells people who want to model after his life: look, serve people. And like, there's greater rewards of serving people than what the material world might, be able to give you. And so I was like, interesting, let me try that. I started to volunteer at my school. I started to ask my parents to take me to homeless shelters. I started doing work for Gleaners Food Bank at the time. Went on a mission trip to Haiti, and my mind was just, overwhelmed in joy when I could makes, when I could see that I made someone else smile, or maybe I saw these Haitians swimming in, you know, a body of water that was all the way down from the mountain, and since you have the water at the bottom, it's what everyone else has been swimming or like, you know, bathing in or whatever, and like seeing that perspective, and then also just understanding that this joyful sense of serving others, it just inspired me. Like that is what gave me my purpose. And so long story short, I had a mentor at the time named Derek Christie, who's a very successful entrepreneur in Greenwood, Indiana. He owns probably about a dozen companies. I have a lot of admiration for, you know, everything that he's taught me. But, you know, he at the time had a family and, well, still does. And he was successful and happy and a community leader. And, you know, his kids went to my school, and like I could, you know, see that just the family was enriched and prospering. And not to say like he, you know, he was any different or better than my parents per se, but I just looked at his life and I was like, what is he doing that is around this theme of serving others that seems to be giving him these fruit and rewards in either the afterlife or this current life? And it was serving others. He was an entrepreneur. And so I couldn't spell the word at the time, let alone pronounce it. Still to this day have issues spelling that word, the E and the U at the end.
Yes.
Throws me off. But I, you know, I was a skateboarder at the time. I had a lot of tattoos at that time. You know, of course, I have tattoos now. And so I started a little skateboard manufacturing company, and just kind of created little events with skaters. We would come, we would talk about life, we talk about depression. It was literally a safe space for the kids with the cuts on their arms to talk about the cuts on their arms type of thing, because there wasn't other places where you could do that, because there's me standing up with the cuts on my arm at the time saying, hey, like, let's ride some skateboards and just, you know, let's bomb this hill. But like, you know, we've all struggled with suicide. Let's just like do, it's just a very different sense of conversation. And like, I was so drawn to that. Long story short, the company failed and I had lost thousands of dollars, but I was drawn to this concept of entrepreneurship where you can bring people together, help people, and have this higher sense of like meaning that is about others and not just about yourself. So that was kind of my introduction to entrepreneurship. That was probably junior year of high school. And then I, of course, kept going. But yeah, like that's kind of up to like finding my purpose of serving others, getting into entrepreneurship, and kind of really having that inspiration to keep going through life.
Wow, what an incredible story. So, Jeremy, is there something fun or funny that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share?
Something funny?
A funny story that maybe your family likes to share about you?
So there was this one time that, I mean, to this day, we all wish we put it on America's Most Funniest Home Videos. But this was also when I was really young, and my brother was teaching me how to play football. And long story short, like I was just so young and I just didn't get it. And whenever he would like, way before he would start the snap, like I would just get up all excited and just go tackle him just because I wanted to tackle my older brother. And it was recorded. And the way the video is shown, it's kind of really set up and it's really funny. But they always love showing that video at like family things or, you know, family gatherings or things. So
That's awesome.
I was a goofball when I was a kid, and I'm still am.
So tell us about how your business came about. You know, at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Yeah, so you know, I mentioned the skateboard business, it failed, but during that time, I had been testing the depths of Twitter. So I had probably 80,000 followers on Twitter back in 2015, and by 2016, I had a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter. Was able to get, you know, 10 to 15 million impressions every single month, organic, and that just like opened up my mind to the power of distribution and how you can share a message and share a story on the internet without me ever, like I was literally doing this stuff in class at school. I had a laptop that was like real old at the time, and I literally would lie to teachers, I'm doing homework, I'm doing stuff. In reality, I was like running my Twitter accounts. And so while I wasn't able to necessarily make a lot of money from doing that, it still showed me the power of an audience and that kind of currency. And so after that, I started a social media marketing agency, just kind of doing like social media implementation and management for different companies. Niched down a little bit to a Facebook ads agency, which I actually partnered with Elliot Drake, who is who you know very well with Connected. This is probably 2017, maybe at this time. From the Facebook ads agency, I had a client named Thor Wood. He had a company called Snapshift, and they were a technology startup for the food and beverage scene. I actually left my agency, was pretty burnt out of agency work, and became director of marketing and partner of that company. Had a lot of fun at Snapshift. Really learned just kind of the the trenches of launching a startup and the growth hacks and all the different things, all the way up to like planning out large scale paid media budgets. From there, I did some work for a nonprofit, helped Don Wettrick and Hunter Stone launch the Start It Up Foundation, which is an extension of a company called Start It Up LLC, where at the time I was helping them sell entrepreneurship innovation courses and curriculum to high schools. But because high schools move so slow, and actually a podcast that we had with Gary Vaynerchuk where he said, screw the schools, do partner with the government because they can move just a little bit faster, so they can give you guys the money to implement what you guys are trying to do outside of the school system. And that's what we did.
Very cool.
So
we just had Don on the show.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. So Don is I mean, an incredible visionary leader. He just got back from Italy to, meeting with the president of Delara and creating this bridge of innovation between, cornfield, Indiana to, some of the most incredible machines that are ever made, in humanity. So yeah, did some work for Startup Foundation as VP of marketing, had a lot of fun there. And really like, Tim, I kind of had a consultancy agency at that time. And even though I would sometimes have one or two clients at a time, I was still very much acting as a consultant. At some point, I started working with Joey Chestnut. I'd say that was probably 2019. I was a consultant for Hughes Culinary. They own St. Elmo Steakhouse and a lot of different restaurants around the city. And they actually part own Joey Chestnut Foods, which is a wing sauce line where all the content that we put on Joey's social media was to drive online sales for his wing sauces, because the man can't be dependent on eating the food at the large volumes that he does till he's 80. Because even though to this day we all are amazed at how he does this, he can't do it forever. And then, yeah, so I had that consultancy agency, but it really wasn't until Elliot reached out to me and they said, hey, we've got this company connected, and we haven't really had a marketing team yet, mostly just salespeople. We'd like to have you, as marketing hire number one and kind of rise up the ranks. And so that was like one of the first times where I was like more of like an employee, but it really helped me understand what it looked like to grow a business from the point of when I came in to the point of where they're at now. And I was able to really, like I mentioned, like I can never say I'm self-made, because it's every single experience that I mentioned thus far, I learned so much from the people who are creating that experience. And I'd say that's something else that I'm proud of. I always say, be a student of the world, not only a student of the classroom. I almost didn't graduate high school. I made a deal with my Algebra 2 teacher to pass me by 1%, just so I could graduate and not have to get the GED. And I didn't even get my diploma until a couple months after I walked the stage, because they didn't know if all the numbers came in to see if I could actually legitimately pass high school. So like all these people that I just got to work for or work with, I learned so much. And so now where I'm at today, I still have my general consulting company where, I work for, some unique things, but I have a social marketing coaching business just for realtors. And so now I have a niche that I've chosen, and I've built an irresistible offer, following along what Alex Hermanzi talks about, who's created $100 million offers. And so now I'm at a place where in my life where I have a client who pays, all my bills and more, and they're able to cover all, like that business is still able to operate as like a generalist consulting agency without taking 20, 30, 40 hours of my time each week, pretty low input, and frees me up to be able to actually start this new business that is really like, so I've had an agency in the past, I've had this general consulting company, but this is actually the first time where I'm actually kind of creating a business from the ground floor, where I'm doing cold calling and really kind of being a student of the game and being a student of, okay, I've been a marketer and I know how to create content to market a product, but now I'm actually creating a business from scratch and I'm having a lot of fun. So that's where I'm at right now. I have my general consulting company. I have 2 clients there, an NFT project and then a tech company, a SaaS company. And then I'm building this social marketing business with workshops and an online private community.
Fantastic. Well, tell us more about that last business, the realtor social company that you were just, what's the name of it? And tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so it's called Rocket Fuel for Realtors, and it's essentially social media marketing and personal branding training for realtors. So like my goal is to equip the realtor themselves or a social media manager who is, working for that real estate team, or that realtor specifically, they're at a certain stage in their real estate journey where they've actually hired a social media manager or a videographer because they want to really get into content, but to really equip and empower them to dominate their corner of the internet. It's not something where they can hire me for, services or implementation. It's a pretty basic model. I come into, real estate teams or real estate offices all over Indiana, and I provide a free 20-minute class. Eventually this is going to be virtual, but I'm very much looking at what Paul Graham says, doing the things that don't scale in the beginning, because if I'm in person, I can collect so much more raw feedback on how I can
Sure.
immediately iterate my presentation or my content or program and make it just that much more beneficial and invaluable. Because like what I'm having to really learn, Tim, is this whole concept of focusing on a niche. Is how do I really relate to realtors? How do I create messaging that makes them see that, oh, because of this social media class, I will make more money in my real estate business? And it's so clear to them. It's clear in my head, but I got to get it so clear to them. And I've also got to build that trust that me, this goofy, tattooed, teenager looking kid or whatever, can earn their money. And they might have been in the game for 30 years. So how could this 23-year-old kid who hasn't even never bought a house in his life, how can he tell me how to grow my real estate business? So like I have to really kind of learn that messaging, and I love it. Like there's some tough elements, like I have rejections, but also after some of these freebie classes, I pitch a 2.5-hour workshop where realtors will pay from $150 to $250 to come to this workshop. And it's an intense deep dive. They leave that class with knowing what channels that are best make sense to their strengths. So if you're more of a writer, I'm going to teach you which platforms out there that exist, like Twitter, LinkedIn, et cetera, that are really geared for writing, and then what ways you can make posts in different mediums around writing that isn't like where you're having to like, it's not a chore to make this content, but you're actually in a flow state to make this content, sharing stories about your customers, sharing your expertise, sharing what your insights are about the marketplace, whatever, but you're also crushing it. You're actually getting engagement on your posts, and you're seeing engagement grow, and you know why your engagement is increasing. You know how to look back at those posts. So like it's a really dope workshop. And at the end of those freebie classes, sometimes we have 6, 7 realtors getting out of their seats, walking up to the screen to take a picture of the QR code that I have where they can just buy a ticket right off the screen.
Nice.
And then so after the workshop, it goes into a private community. Right now it's just a Facebook group and then a private newsletter. And each week I'm sharing 3 tips on how to make posts better. I'm interviewing one person, usually a realtor, on a couple things that works well for them. And I'm just sharing a couple ideas on ways that they can make better Facebook stories, Facebook ads, or just kind of general Q&A around what they want to do. Should I make my business page yet, or should I just keep my profile? Different kind of stuff like that. And it's fun, Tim. Like I really am having a lot of fun with it, because most of the kind of time that I'm putting into it is just creating content, which is what I love to do, creating that programming, creating these presentations. And so it can really be, an internet-based company where these classes can be all virtual. Mm-hmm. And then the private community is essentially infinitely scalable, so much to the fact that, okay, if there's 1,000 realtors and they're paying, $10 a month or $15 a month, okay, then, it might be beneficial for me to hire like my fiance or my mom or, someone like that. Hey, like I'll pay you some money to help me kind of manage these people, just kind of back and forth. They're having issues with paying for the private newsletter or whatever. You just general admin support, stuff like that. But it can really be like, I don't want a team. I don't want a bunch of employees. I don't want to have to be having all these responsibilities. Like I want to find businesses that I can carve out these little niches, and they can be, pretty scalable, pretty passive, generative, but also not to the standpoint that I can just set it and forget it like an investment, because I do like to create content. I do like to interact with people. I do like to see the impact that I can make. So I don't know if this thing is going to, make me $1 million, but I'm, over the next couple of years, but I'm trying it out. And being a student of the game, I'm having fun, and we'll see where it goes.
That's awesome, man. So, hey, tell us a story of somebody who pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, and the impact that person had on you.
Okay. So this would relate to, excuse me, anyone who's starting a business for the first time, or you're a seasoned individual and this is the 7th business you've started or 7th project you've started or whatever. But when I failed that skateboard company, I went to my mentor and I was like, what the heck? I'm doing this thing to like make myself feel better and to like try to find purpose and all these things. And he taught me to not put my identity in the thing, but not even place my identity around these things, but look at what I can gain from this, for the next thing. And he just kind of taught me, hey, you're 16 years old and you need to humble yourself. If you think that this failed skateboard business in high school is going to be any type of scar for the rest of your life, you're just simply wrong. And what's kind of beautiful about that is, look at me, 23 years old, and I actually share this story almost every single time I'm on stage or with students or on podcasts. So like at the time, I thought this would be, oh, but if I'm closing a deal at the age of 25, that client's gonna be like, oh no, Jeremy, we saw you fail that business in high school. We don't know if we want to work with you. But vice versa, it's actually an instrument that I use to inspire. So like it's kind of funny how that worked out. But yeah, he just kind of really taught me to not fall in love with the game, or not fall in love with like, the product or the business. Like that's not really what it's about, but it's just really about the relationships and that relationship capital, and just that interaction that you can have with people, and how are you being a vessel for light, like whatever, to anyone who's listening to this, wherever you place your like your transcendental connection, like whether that's some form of God, or that's the universe, or whatever that might be, like if you can if what you do, if your work is connected to whatever you're like outside of this world, like spiritual connection, whatever that might look, if it's connected, then it's, it can be really inspiring to, to sometimes fail a little bit, because that like that product or that business isn't what it's all about. You know that there's a higher purpose and a higher plan going on, whether you're spiritual or religious, which mind you, I'm not religious almost at all, but I do follow God named Jesus Christ, not to get in that tangent rather, but yeah, like just kind of really looking at everything as, bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I think that can be related to not just business and entrepreneurship, but in relationships and life, and looking at geopolitics, everything right now, health, epidemics, whatever. People thinking that we're living in the worst time of the world right now, but if you actually kind of zoom out, we're actually living in some of the best times in the world, and fertility rates and death rates, and international or third world countries getting access to health and medicine and infrastructure and technology and different type of things like that. It's actually an incredibly inspiring time where we're at in the community right now. So I don't know, like at the time when I was 16, my mentor told me to zoom out, and I think at any time in life, it's always healthy to just kind of zoom out and be like, okay, it's good to have some perspective.
Yeah, I love that advice. Our founder says that he never fails. He either succeeds or he learns. And I think that's a similar perspective of what your mentor shared, right? Is everything that we experience in life is just preparing us for the next version of ourselves. So what's that mentor's name?
Derek Christie. So that was Derek Christie, and another mentor at that time. His name is Kenton Yohe, also an entrepreneur who lives in Greenland, Indiana. And they both were really instrumental in kind of sharing that just wisdom and nuggets of advice for me.
Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, what's been your biggest learning as a business owner?
Business learning as a business owner.
Or your biggest learning as a business owner? Yeah. What's your life lesson so far?
This could be personal, but also pretty business as well. But it's like, stay humble. It's especially for me personally. In my past, I've had to have issues with ego or different things like that. It's just it's an edge to be humble, because whether it's your customers or your team, or you're dealing with a bank to get a business loan, or just whatever, people don't want to deal with people who are just all about themselves, and they're talking over the other people, and they're just intense. And I've just kind of really learned, because I was that person. I was a person who would always talk over people, and I still have to work on that. I'm always still growing. But I've just had to really learn to like kind of be humble and just, I don't know, like it's a very much of a personal development and personal game when you're in business for yourself, as much as it is, a business game.
Yeah. And I think that you mentioned this earlier, but having that servant mindset and that servant attitude definitely helps with being humble, right? Because we're always looking at how can we, help and improve the other person, as opposed to what can the other person do for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Jeremy, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about, one of your biggest challenges during the years as managing the different businesses that you have, and who's a fellow business owner who came alongside of you and helped you get through that?
Yeah, so I can think of one person in particular, Remington Ramsey, and I can't mention Rocket Fuel for Realtors without mentioning Remington Ramsey, honestly. Remington Ramsey, about 7, 8 years ago, he created a magazine called Real Producers, and it's a real estate magazine. By this point, Real Estate Magazine, which started in Indianapolis, it is in 150 markets all over the country. Very successful
Wow.
publishing magazine, and he's still on board, at the top and everything. And in Indiana, he's running a conference for realtors called Masterclass. And about 4 years ago, he had me to speak at this event to share about social media marketing. It wasn't anything specific to realtors. I was just kind of sharing the secrets of the Facebook algorithm. Well, apparently, since that conference, which he does 4 of these conferences a year, um, which I'm very grateful for this, is I've been one of the most requested people to come back and speak at the stage by these
That's
realtors. So note there. So around fall of last year, Remington, reached back out to me. He's like, "Hey man, would love to have you speak at the event. We're doing it again this year. I know it's been a couple of years. I would love to have you back out." My first thing was, okay, bet you have a speaker budget. What can you do? Do you have a videographer there who can get me video content at least? And essentially he's like, no budget, but we will get content, but I'll let you pitch your services at the end. And that was like a really cool, for whatever reason at that time, I was like, okay, let me really think about what I want to pitch to these realtors. And I
Mm.
came back to rooms and I was like, hey, what if we did a workshop for these realtors, teaching them about personal branding and social media marketing. And with your help, I want to partner with you on this event. So you'll help me pitch this on stage. You'll kind of team me up at the very end. And I want to give you revenue share on all the tickets that we sell right on that stage. Well, we outsold that workshop on stage, like from that event. And since then, Remington, we have come together as partners for Rocket Fuel for Realtors, and he really helps me have the connections and kind of introduces the last 7 years of relationships that he has in the real estate game, but also he is helping me learn how to create my programming and strategy and mold it and kind of formulate it in a way that realtors get it and it makes sense. And like what I was mentioning about how do I message to a 65-year-old realtor or a 60-year-old realtor in Indiana? Like it's like, for example, I can't curse even like the slightest bit. Sometimes I get excited, something, whatever, and I'll mention something. Well, in the Midwest with realtors, sometimes they might be conservative and it doesn't matter. Like I will lose them more than earning their trust by being myself on, when if I'm speaking by, maybe letting a curse go. And so he's really helped me learn that. Another thing, not saying realtor and saying realtor. That's just one of those small things that you don't necessarily realize that
Right.
when a realtor hears that, they're like, it's instant turn off, And I was doing a workshop and Sotheby's, um, is that the right way to say it? Sotheby's real estate. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. No.
Okay, well, that's a large real estate company, and they also have like or it's Sotheby's. So Sotheby's, they have like the giant art industry, and they're also in real estate too. And
Okay,
well, I
yeah.
called it Sotheby's in the workshop, and after it, Remington was like, "Hey, just to let you know, it's Sotheby's. Realtors are going to hear you say that oh, this kid doesn't know anything about the real estate
Yeah,
game. I'm
right.
not going to buy a ticket." So like he is showing me all these things that I could walk in here and be like, "Oh, I've grown all these social media accounts and millions of followers, and you're an idiot for not listening to me. I'm but no, I'm like, let me really step back and really be a student here and humble myself and reflect on what I need to do to get better so I can, turn this into a sustainable business."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fantastic.
Remington, I got to give so much credit, and he's still, of course, partner in the business and is going to be able to reap from that. But he's really helped me identify this niche and kind of focus on it.
Wonderful. So, Jeremy, if you had to pick three people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for being there for you and to helping in your growth, who are those three people and how they help you?
So I'd say the first one is my dad. He might have not has taught me a lot. Like, I mean, to this day, like at this point, like he helped me a lot with my business. But getting started, he might not have helped me a lot with business. But my dad is a servant at its heart. He is one of the best examples of someone who puts others first, and he really kind of instilled and just kind of he was an example to me in that regard, and that kind of really reflects my ability to make a difference in the marketplace. Number two, I'd say Derek Christie, one of my mentors that I mentioned. Number three, I'd put Kenton Yoy there too, but I want to mention someone else, Bryn Jones. Bryn Jones is another mentor of mine, and he was also a client. He's the VP of marketing for Hughes Culinary. They own St. Elmo's Restaurant, and Heron is a bunch of restaurants. And I've had a lot of fun working for him over the last couple of years, but I've learned a lot from him, and he's semi-popular on LinkedIn and shares a lot of great content on LinkedIn. So if someone wants to like learn from Bryn Jones specifically, he's sharing different models around business and marketing and paid media and advertising that is really thought-provoking on his LinkedIn. So yeah, Bryn Jones, Bryn Jones is definitely someone else that I put in there.
Fantastic. So, Jeremy, as you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you're going to face to reach your business goals? And who are the types of folks that you're going to need to help you get through those challenges?
Yeah. So my goal with the real estate kind of niche is if I can turn that into, a pretty oiled, systematic, six-figure type of entity where it doesn't require like, 90+%, operating margin, doesn't require, large staff, maybe like a VA or two to kind of really take care of a lot of just admin stuff, or fiance, mother, whatever. But my goal is if I can do that, then to create another business, teaching other people how to create online businesses and choose their niche and create that irresistible offer. And specifically, creators and kind of younger people, like, okay, if you have these different skills and you've kind of been in, let's say, like, I know probably hundreds of videographers, for example, who have years and years of experience in creating incredible content. And they're incredibly creative, but they don't have the business skills or business expertise or the ability to how to enterprise, different kind of things like that. Or I've thought about other things where instead of choosing, kind of like a general niche of just helping people build online businesses, is I could choose another niche similar to the real estate game, like accountants or financial advisors, for example, who, the reason why social marketing, content, and branding is a great sell to realtors because it's such a people-to-people business where their face and their reputation matters so much. Financial advisors are very similar. There's so many financial advisors who hit me up on LinkedIn that I almost have a bad taste if you tell me that you're a financial advisor. So like building that positive brand is very important. However, a lot of financial advisors, the companies that they're at, whether it's Thrivent or Northwestern Mutual or Merrill Lynch, there's so many restrictions and limitations on what they can post in their accounts. However, I'm seeing those limitations and regulations open up today and over the next 3 to 5 years. So that could be an entire market, blue ocean, as they say, that could open up, where financial advisors who work at Merrill Lynch or Thrivent or, Northwestern Mutual, for sure, those guys need to be building their brands because those people are the most annoying people ever. No offense to them. But like more than almost any other financial advisor needs to be able to like create content on LinkedIn and kind of differentiate themselves as a human who is passionate about financial services and not just another number at Northwestern Mutual who has been like the 70th financial advisor hitting me up trying to sell me software services. So like, yeah, like it might be another niche like that I'd love to kind of, partner with someone to kind of really help me understand that market and kind of create a business for them, or more general and just kind of teaching, creating a coaching business to help other people create online businesses.
Wonderful. So Jim Rohn, one of my favorite authors, he says we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So Jeremy, as you think about that, is that something that you find exciting, something that makes you nervous, a little bit of both? What's your perspective there?
Absolutely. I think even maybe John Maxwell has a similar quote to that too. But absolutely, everyone, it kind of goes back to my quote, be a student of the world. Even if someone isn't in business, like I can still I can learn empathy from, like I can learn how to be more empathetic in my business by learning about empathy from my fiance and how she's interacting with her coworkers. She's a manager at a Starbucks, and the different things that she's learning about how to be empathetic with hours being cut. Like I'm learning directly from her. And even though there's not many connections from industry point, like I'm still learning from her. So like, we were actually just talking the other day. You never want to necessarily be the smartest person in the room, because you can, like, we're always gathering from other, like our body doesn't shut off collecting from other people. Yes. Like their energy, their knowledge, their, what motivates them intrinsically, etc. And so if we have 5 negative people around in our life, if we have 5 drug addicts in our life, you're going to probably become a drug addict. But if you have 5 people that you mostly spend in your life who, they want good things for you, and they're kind of working on themselves. And
Yeah.
you know, not necessarily saying you need to have 5 entrepreneurs in your life, but if you just have people in your life and you're spending time with who are genuinely trying to progress and trying to get semi better in some way,
Yeah.
I believe that you will have much better chance of also being sustainable, not just starting out that journey of whatever it looks like, but actually consistency and the sustainability behind it, which is where the results actually happen.
Yeah. That your quote that if you're the smartest person in the room, I've read a few different people's perspectives on that I love. It's like, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to find another room.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And other things that folks say is, hey, Tim, I don't have the ability to surround myself with the people that I want to. And I'm like, well, you can always read a book, right? Or watch a video. It doesn't have to be the physical 5 people. It can be virtual 5 people as well. So what are you doing to feed yourself with folks that you aspire to be more like?
Oh, absolutely, Tim. Like you make a really good point. And there might be a lot of people that where they might be thinking, I'm just not really sure. Though I don't have those people in my life I can surround myself with. That's one of my favorite things about social media and the internet. The internet and social media at the end of the day is not bad or good. It is a mirror of human behavior, just like a lot of things in this world, like money, weapons, etc. They simply mirror human intention and human nature. So there's pros and cons. One of the pros of social media and like LinkedIn is people are sharing what is working for them. People are sharing their secrets. They're sharing the failures. And so it's really incredible if someone is listening to this and they feel like they don't have any source of inspiration or not, wisdom, etc. Like literally like email me or email Tim, like ask someone who you see who is inspired and is out there and say, hey, who are the few people who you follow on social media who you're learning from or getting inspired from? So I can go follow them. And there's people like Justin Welsh on LinkedIn, who he is sharing the most incredible insights and knowledge and wisdoms on how to create a solopreneur business or how to create an internet business or how to create an online coaching business, different type of stuff like that. Trey Cockrum is a local entrepreneur here in Indianapolis. He's my age and he has well over a 7-figure coaching business. He's extremely successful at his age, incredibly humble, awesome guy. He's got a YouTube channel of over 35,000 subscribers where he's got 10-minute videos, sometimes 30-minute videos where he's interviewing his clients on what's working for them to grow their business. Free game. There's free game and free inspiration all out there. It's just a matter of looking for it.
Yeah. What I love about the internet and social media in particular is, right, you just said it, like everyone is giving away value. Right? And so you don't have to, if you're just starting, right, you don't have to pay for it. You just spend some time, spend an hour a day and just, find the people who you want to be like and use the free information that they're providing to tweak and optimize the stuff that you're already doing.
100%. Like the people you surround yourself with can be similarly thought as a thought experiment with what we consume, specifically on social media. And the way these algorithms work is they will give you the content that you've already been consuming. So if you're receiving everything about news in Ukraine and Russia and Will Smith's, orchestrated slap that the Grammys or whatever it's called did that to increase their numbers. If that's all you're seeing, then yes, you will be more anxious when you leave social media. You'll be more whatever. So after you get off social media, now you need that cigarette or whatever. The algorithm is going to give you what you've already been liking and commenting.
Yes.
Now, the beautiful thing about that is you can actually change that. And so if you start to follow other people that are sharing business advice or inspiration, or like I like stoicism a lot, so I follow like stoic type accounts. If you start to like that content, then slowly the algorithm will see that your tastes are changing, and then it'll kind of help you see that more positive type of content. So yeah, just as a note, like the algorithm is either your friend or your enemy, but it's ultimately a reflection of your own interests.
Yeah, that makes me think of one of the things we just tell our clients is the way that we all spend the first 60 minutes of the day is going to dictate how our day goes. So to your point, if we're on social media reading all of this negative stuff that's happening in the world, then we've just filled ourselves with negativity, and now we're going to attract negativity all day. Versus if we if we pray or we meditate and we fill our mind with positive affirmations and, thoughts of I'm going to crush it today and I'm going to hit my goals, right? We pump ourselves up for an awesome day, then that's the energy that we put out. And therefore, the law of attraction comes into play. Right? That's the energy that we're going to attract. So your example is the same idea, right? Is the algorithm is basically responding to our energy, right? So if we're clicking on and reading and liking and sharing negative stuff on social media, then we're going to get more of it because, right, the algorithm is going to say, oh, Tim wants more of this crap, right?
Exactly. Wow, yeah, that's a really good point.
So Jeremy, if last question here, if something catastrophic was to happen to your business, who's the first person you'd call?
Ooh, that's a great question. What would something catastrophic look like? Like, I don't know.
It could be like the skateboard example, right? Where the business ended up, not working out, and who's your go-to person, and who would you reach out to go, oh my goodness, right? Like the sky's falling.
Definitely my dad, and then probably after that, lawyer or my accountant.
Yeah, and so tell us the conversation with your dad. What would that look like?
I'm an open book, and I'm very transparent. So whatever happened, if there's something that I did or didn't do that led up to that, that's where I would start out with. I would provide the context that he needs to know, and then just try to be like, I need help. Like the reason why I want to help people so much is because so many people have helped me in my situations when I needed help, and if I didn't get that help, I don't know where I would be. So yeah, like I would just, here's what's happening, here's the context, I need help, what do we do? What's the first step to game plan? And what does the light at the in the tunnel look like? Is this a completely adapt pivot situation? Is this, we just need a, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it'd be my dad, and I'd share the situations, like, what do we do? Who should we call? Yeah.
Fantastic. So Jeremy, sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your life who have helped you on your journey. If they were all on the program today, what would you like to say to them?
Over the last year and a half, a lot of things happened to me, like losing my father, grandfather, who played very much of a fatherly role in my early life. And just a lot of things happened. And, there's a point where I was feeling really down and really like not seeing the connection to my purpose, everything that I'm doing, and was really kind of falling back in that kind of searching state. And, for a moment, I was just thinking and reflecting, I'm like, all the people who believed in me and who have, helped me, I at least owe it to them to keep pushing forward and to get out of the rut and the hole that I'm in right now, because they all believed in me when they had every reason not to, because I was, for whatever reason, and so just thank you to all the, every single person. Like I really, try not to take people for granted, even though sometimes we do. And it's just, it's always a game of, working on ourselves. But yeah, just thank you for, to those people who believe me in the times when, some other people didn't.
That's awesome. I love that. That idea of living up to the belief that other people have in us. That's awesome.
Sure.
So, Jeremy, been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, and I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Cheers, Tim. I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome. To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campsell. Be sure to help us spread this movement by liking the show and sharing it on your social media. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.